Hello, I'm Jean-Guy Roy from the band Federal Lights, and my favorite record of all time is Radiohead's OK Computer. I think that just right from the top, I think the thing that first captivated me about the record was just the artwork itself. It was so cold. Like you'd look at it and it's it really doesn't give you any sort of sense of relief, which I found totally intriguing for a record, for the artwork of a record. It's almost a very haunting, sort of futuristic look, and yeah, like it just offers no comfort, which is incredibly different from I think what a lot of artists do when they release a record. You want something that's pretty and that people will sort of be drawn to and want to hang on their wall and things like that. And this record, I mean, even the words "lost child" in the corner there, like that's that's not a comforting. It's not a comforting phrase.
Just takes 2 quick seconds.
Sure.
Go.
And yeah, so I mean, the artwork was the first thing that grabbed me, and then the title itself, I think, such a great title. It also has a very similar sort of, it leaves you with a similar sort of feel that it's semi talking about the future, but it's also it's sort of saying that it's a ridiculous idea that a computer could comfort someone or to tell somebody that things are going to be okay or that things are all right or whatever. And when I hear "OK Computer," it just it's a ridiculous idea that technology can somehow become a comfort. And I mean, in this day and age, technology has become such a comfort to people. But in the 90s, that idea was kind of gone. It wasn't born yet. And so I mean, both those things instantly grabbed me. I didn't actually first hear this record until well after it was released, and it's one of the major regrets of my life because they were on tour in Europe in '97 promoting this record, and I was backpacking around Europe in '97, and I didn't get this record until I got home, and the tour was over, and they didn't come anywhere near Winnipeg, so I never got to see them on this tour, which was quite sad. But yeah, so I mean, track by track, the first track, Airbag, the lyrics in that song are just so, again, sort of haunting. They're distant, they're cold, they don't give you any sort of relief. It leaves you feeling unsure, I think. And the imagery that the lyrics give you in that song about driving in a fast German car, airbag saved my life, like these ridiculous sort of phrases that you never think about. Like, yeah, airbags are designed to save your life, but he almost says it like tongue in cheek. I don't know. It's this sort of juxtaposition between technology is going to destroy us, yet technology is designed to make us better and to help us, and it is like such a fine balancing act. And I mean, yeah, in '97 that concept is so unique, I think, because in this day and age you see it, you live it every day, smartphones and computers everywhere, but like in '97 I don't even know if I had an email account, like I was that kind of stuff didn't happen, and to be able to sort of see that already back then and to write about it is pretty prolific. So yeah, I mean, and it just takes off from there. The first single being 6.5 minutes long, and the video that went along with it, that I think it was a Swedish guy who made the cartoon for Paranoid Android, and yeah, like nobody did 6.5 minute opuses for a single. Like it wasn't heard of, and nobody could get away with that. Like we were just coming off of the grunge era, which was 3.5 minutes of pretty straightforward music, and for this song to come out that's got like 3 very distinctive parts, that you would never ever in your day, like you'd never dream to put these 3 parts together to create a song, never mind a single for the record. And I think that it just works so beautifully when they finally come out of that car wreck, and like it just sort of settles, and it's like you can literally see the musical dust settling in the room, and then it breaks into the Rain Down section of that song, and it just gets so beautiful and so powerful. And to end, like to have it all sort of fall apart at the end, where it goes back into like the train wreck section, and just the lyric of God loves his children, yeah, God loves his children, and then that sarcastic little yeah at the end is just, it's like, I don't know, it was just, there was nothing that came close to that in '97. Like it really was so ahead of its time, and they were really on their game on that one, and especially coming from a record like The Bends, which is to me a very sort of like warm kumbaya feel good record almost, you know what I mean? Like there's I love that record, but it's so distinctly different. It's so, you want to hug it. OK Computer, you're scared to touch it, like you think it's gonna eat you or something, or destroy you, but it's also quite delicate and quite beautiful. And I mean, just on Subterranean Homesick Alien, which I also thought was just a brilliant title to play off of Dylan, but the use of the Fender Rhodes in that song specifically, that's how I learned about the Fender Rhodes, like that song itself. Yeah, so Subterranean Homesick Alien, the Fender Rhodes in that song was not the first time I'd ever heard Rhodes, because I think like Riders on the Storm and stuff uses Rhodes and stuff, but I'd never heard it be played in modern music. Like to me, it seemed like an instrument from like of the '60s or something that the bands back then used, and Pink Floyd and stuff used, and it was a cool instrument, but to the idea that it was being used again in modern day, and the way that they use it, especially in that song, it was beautifully done, and just with the imagery that he uses, driving at night. One of my favorite things to do is drive at night. I love driving at night. There's something about it that's sort of magical. And yeah, so again, just a beautiful, beautiful song. And then we get into exit music for a film, which is probably one of the saddest songs I think that's ever been written. It's just so bleak, and the lyrics are so lonely, and we just, we're privy to somebody planning their escape, and I mean, he doesn't even really allude to what that is, and it's probably why it's so good as well. But again, the production on that song specifically, the way that the guitar sounds so melodic and so haunting. The voice really carries that song. Like the instruments are almost inaudible at times compared to his voice. Like it just really carries it. And I mean, hats off to Nigel Godrich for the production on that record. He really is, he's one of those sort of savants as well. And then I think probably my favorite Radiohead song of all time, Let Down Begins, and what the guitar and the Fender Rhodes is doing, they're playing off of each other completely different time signature than what you think is going to happen. And then the bass comes in, and the bass just like straight time, 4 on the floor, keeps the heartbeat of it going. And Johnny and Ed just tinkle away, and the way that they I don't even know how to describe it musically, but the way that they sort of almost play their notes between the counts, like between the 1 and the 2, and I know that there's a term to describe that. I don't know what that term is, but they do it so well, and they do it in many songs, and they're able to sort of play in and out of the rhythm of what the song is doing. And in that song, they just totally nail it. And I think that is the first time, vocally too, the first time in my life that I'd ever heard vocals recorded the way that they're recording that song with a left and a right, and like a stereo vocal that's not a double. And to me that was just like it blew my mind away. Like how did they do that? Like it was something I'd never heard before, and it instantly grabbed me that there was these 2 vocals that weren't doubles, and that they were stereo, and just it was such ear candy. It was phenomenal. And when that song breaks out at the end, and with everything that's going on, and the counter melody vocals and the lead vocal, and they're all playing off each other, and the falsetto is happening, and it's that last sort of 30 seconds of that song is one of the most beautiful pieces of music I think that has been written in my lifetime anyway. And it's absolutely gorgeous, and to this day, every time I play that song, when it gets to that part, it's like goosebumps every time. It just doesn't go away, and they really, it's truly a masterpiece. And then you got the second hit off the record, Yeah, the way that Karma Police unravels is, I think it's the crossover song on that record. It's the song that makes the bends work into OK Computer. I think it's got that. I think it's the first time on that record where you get that sort of warm feeling of just that sort of comfort. You get to a comfort zone, and I think that's the first time they let you sort of get comfortable on the record, because they bring the acoustic in, and it's mixed and it's played in a way that's a little more familiar, I think, to fans of the band that were in, that were fans of the bands and stuff. And I think it's sort of like their crossover song. And it still has it still has a new sound to it that is completely in line with the rest of OK Computer. And then the going into the section at the end with the "Few for a Minute There, I Lost Myself" section is just again much like Paranoid Android. It's just one of those just perfect sections that you don't really see coming, and then it goes there, and it's the payoff, and the analog delay guitar at the end that just sort of completes the song and finishes the song and fades the song out in a sense. Also something I'd never heard before on a record, and I'm sure it had been done before, but that was the first time that I'd ever heard analog delay used that way, and just to listen to something and go, holy shit, what the fuck was that? What are they doing? How are they making those sounds? And I remember for years trying to find out, like their gear list and things like that, and what they use and stuff, because they just had such a unique way of doing things, and so creative. And then from there we go into the Fitter Happier, I believe. Yeah, Fitter Happier is after that. And that's just such a creepy song. Like, to be released at that time, it was just like, that's like commercial suicide. Like, who puts that on their record, It's, although Pink Floyd kind of did not a similar thing, but they kind of messed around with kind of conversations in the background and things like that, and weird stuff like that. But the piano line in that Fitter Happier is so beautiful, and again, sort of cold and haunting, which is just like the ongoing theme of the record. But and using I think whatever that Mac voice, Fred, I think it's Fred or something like that. In America, in Canada, I think it's called Fred. You type it in and it repeats you, and yeah, I mean it's so unique, and it's, I don't know if I consider it a song as more of an interlude into another, section of the record. But yeah, I mean it was crazy. They were crazy to do that kind of thing, and they just did it, which is, why they are as successful as they are, because they kind of do what they please, and if people don't go along for the ride, they don't really care. They at that point too, they sold quite a few records from the band, so they were doing okay. They could take a chance, but yeah. So that I mean, yeah, that was just crazy. That was like That was tomfoolery in the studio that just turned out to be actually quite a beautiful little piece. And then from there into electioneering, which is just a colossal train wreck. It's from front to back. It's like you don't know what's going on. It's like half spaghetti western guitar tones and punk rock. Like it's just and again the lyrics in that song are pretty great, and the imagery that it creates, and I mean he gets the message across that there's things in the world that are going on that aren't so good, and people should maybe start having a look at that. And I remember never even hearing of the IMF before that. I mean, I was 18 or something, and I'm like, what the fuck's the IMF? You do some research and you find out, them and the World Bank and all sorts of other people and organizations in the world, and I ended up learning quite a bit about them, going to university and taking courses on economics and things like that, and I'm digressing here a bit, but that song is like the it's the rock and roll portion of the record. That it's the political song, it's the anthem for something. Anyway, Climbing the Walls. That song still scares me. Like, to listen to it, it's so disturbingly low. Like the low end, the bass and the synth bass and everything is just so it's very scary. It's like horror movie. Like when the phone rings and you pick it up and they're like, I'm in your house. And you're like, oh, Jesus. And even the lyrics are just, they still make me uncomfortable. Like, yeah, it's a very disturbing song. And the scream at the end that he just lets go is so disturbing and so fitting. And for them to be able to sort of create something that is so uncomfortable, yet so listenable. Like, I think it's like 3 chords or something. It's so simple, but it really is a terrifying song. Like it makes the listener get uncomfortable, and I'm assuming that's obviously the purpose of it. And yeah, it's just wonderful. Wonderful how they're able to put that on the audience, and the audience can just, the listener can just get that right away. It's phenomenal. Then we go into No Surprises, which is the lullaby of the record. It's a song you could sing your kids to sleep with, and yet the lyrics are beautiful, but they're also quite scary in the sense that he really lets you know what's going on, and the way that the picking and the bells and everything works. It's almost like what the lyrics are saying and what the music is saying are in complete opposite. It's like licking a poisonous lollipop or something, you know what I mean? Like it tastes good, but it's gonna kill you or something. But just the way that he can do, the way that they can do that is like they create a beautiful piece of music with these very yeah, cold and haunting lyrics. It's one of those things that they just do very well. And on that song, they just completely nail it. And then they made a great video to accompany it, which was such a cool idea. Okay, so then we go into Lucky. Now, Lucky is, again, one of those sort of moody, brooding songs that I love how the reverbed out, like behind the bridge strumming of the guitar just kind of intros it. And then when that guitar and the bass start that song up, it's just, it's so, well, at that point it's actually quite warm, and it just really, the tone there just really grabs you right away. And his voice in that song, and again the lyrics are there's like a sense of sarcasm throughout the whole record, I think. And I think you really hear it in that song. And again, it's one of those songs that just has a pretty basic layout, a pretty basic verse chorus kind of thing. But that chorus is so anthemic, like when they hit it, when they hit it and they just go into that chorus, it's just, yeah, it's goosebumps, and then it just comes back down, and it sounds so dreary and so, yeah, I don't know, just dreary comes to mind anyway. It seems like a rainy day. But again, beautiful chorus that just switches from the minor to the major, and it just lifts you up as a listener, and it makes you want to just sing along. And yeah, it's quite. It's. I think it's one of the more sort of, I don't want to say spiritual songs, but in a sense it really does connect with you in that song, in that chorus specifically, very much so like the last 30 seconds of Let Down. There's just something about it that like gets into your soul, and you just really, well, at least for me anyways, as a listener, you just really connect with that specific moment in the song. Yeah, just gorgeous. And then we go into The Tourist, which is such a cool title for a song. And then the lyrics, idiot, slow down, and all that. It's quite funny. I don't know. It's the perfect way to close out a record. The song doesn't really go anywhere. It kind of just rolls along, stays pretty loose and sort of flowing and sparse. There's no highs, there's no lows, and it just kind of takes you along and says, okay, it's time to just go to bed now. The record's over. We're gonna slowly fade out of this one, and it really does it does a great job of closing out the record. And then they do a bit of a jam at the end, which is nice, but they don't go too crazy, which I think is just exactly the perfect way to finish a record. And yeah, you don't need to end strong. You just need to end. And I think they do a wonderful job doing that on that record. So yeah, that's why I like OK Computer.